Imagine waking up in 1875. Before you even think about breakfast, you're already dreading the ordeal of getting dressed. Victorian fashion wasn't just about style. It was a daily construction project. Layers of chemises, corsets, petticoats, crinolines, and finally, the dress itself. Altogether, you're carrying around up to 14 pounds of fabric and steel. This weight shapes every move you make. How you sit, walk, even breathe. Clothing was a public statement. The more layers, the higher your status, and the less likely you were to do manual labor. But beneath the elegance, there were constant, practical challenges. Chief among them, how do you answer nature's call in all this? The corset digs into your ribs, the skirts pull at your hips, and you're always aware of the fortress you inhabit. This wasn't just fashion, it was a daily test of endurance and ingenuity. Every portrait hides a reality. The woman inside navigating discomfort and logistics. The real story of Victorian dress is one of practicality hidden beneath impossible elegance. Let's pull back the curtain and see what daily life was really like, because beneath the silk and lace, survival meant strategy. So you're dressed, corseted, crinolined, and buttoned up. Then, inevitably, you need the toilet. Today, it's easy. For a Victorian woman, it was a logistical nightmare. Undressing wasn't an option. It would take ages and probably require help. The corset made bending difficult, and the crinoline kept your skirts feet away from your body. Public toilets were rare, and even when available, they weren't designed for the sheer size of your attire. This reality shaped daily life. How much you drank, how long you stayed at events, and how you planned your outings. The fear of being caught out was real. A constant silent anxiety. So what did women do? They adapted. The solution wasn't to fight the clothing, but to work with it. Special undergarments, practiced movements, and a lot of planning made it possible. Victorian women became experts at managing their own realities. They developed secret routines to maintain dignity and composure. It was a quiet triumph of everyday ingenuity, and it was all hidden beneath layers of fabric. To understand the solution, let's break down the layers. First, the chemise, a washable barrier against sweat and oils. Next, the drawers, key to our story. Then the corset, laced tight to shape the body and support the dress. Over that, a corset cover to protect the dress from hardware. Multiple petticoats added volume and warmth. The crinoline or bustle created the iconic silhouette. Finally, the dress itself, heavy, elaborate, and impossible to put on alone. Each layer had a purpose, but together they created a fortress. The challenge, how to use the toilet without dismantling the entire structure. Every layer was both a solution and a new problem. Victorian women had to be resourceful just to get through the day. The real art wasn't just in dressing, but in managing the consequences, and that's where ingenuity came in. Before modern plumbing, the chamber pot was the go-to solution. Hidden in elegant commodes, these pots were kept in bedrooms or dressing rooms for privacy. A lady's maid discreetly emptied and cleaned them, maintaining the illusion of effortless grace. When visiting, a woman would never ask for the toilet. She'd request to retire or adjust her dress. This coded language led her to a private room with a chamber pot, washstand, and mirror. The entire system relied on euphemism and discretion. Needs were met quietly without ever being acknowledged. The process was seamless, if you knew the code. Privacy and modesty were always preserved. Now, the act itself. How did a woman manage in all those layers? She didn't lift her skirts from behind. That would be a disaster. Instead, she faced the chamber pot, gathered the front of her skirts and petticoats, and lifted them forward. The crinoline's wide cage actually helped, creating space beneath. She'd squat slightly, the back of her dress and crinoline acting as a modesty screen. It was a practiced, efficient movement, almost like a curtsy. Girls learned this skill young. It became second nature. The goal, no fuss, no mess, no evidence. She emerged as composed as she entered. It was a private performance of competence and grace. The real secret weapon, split drawers. Unlike modern underwear, Victorian drawers were open at the crotch, two legs joined only at the waistband. This design allowed a woman to relieve herself without undressing. As skirts grew wider, drawers became essential for modesty. But closed ones would have made toilet visits impossible. The split design was a stroke of genius, practical, discreet, and liberating. It gave women privacy and independence, letting them manage their needs alone. Even the poorest women benefited from this clever solution. Over time, styles evolved, but the split drawer remained standard until clothing and plumbing modernized. Beautifully crafted, they balanced modesty with necessity. The split drawer was the hidden key to Victorian daily life. Without it, the whole system would have fallen apart. Not all women experienced these challenges equally. Wealthy women had private dressing rooms, fine chamber pots, and maids to handle the dirty work. Their undergarments were soft linen, always clean. Working-class women wore rougher fabrics, shared chamber pots, and did their own cleaning. In crowded homes, privacy was rare and hygiene a daily struggle. The upper class enjoyed comfort and discretion. The poor made do with necessity and resourcefulness. Even the basics, like clean clothes or a private space, were luxuries for many. Fashion created a shared problem, but class determined the solutions. Ingenuity was everywhere, but comfort was not. The story of the Victorian toilet is really many stories, shaped by wealth and circumstance. Hygiene was another daily challenge. Toilet paper didn't exist. The wealthy used washable cloths. The poor used scraps or newspaper. Water for washing was hauled by hand, and full baths were rare. Menstrual care meant homemade cloth pads, washed and reused each month. Cleanliness was a constant battle against coal dust, crowded streets, and limited plumbing. Layers of underclothing protected expensive dresses from sweat and dirt. The chemise and drawers were boiled and bleached. Outer garments were rarely cleaned. Every layer had a hygienic purpose, not just a modest one. Resourcefulness was essential, especially for the less fortunate. Cleanliness was a daily act of determination. None of this happened in isolation. Women relied on a quiet network of shared knowledge, passed from mother to daughter, friend to friend, and mistress to maid. A lady's maid was a confidant, helping with corsets, chamber pots, and clean linens. Discretion and trust were essential. In social settings, women helped each other navigate the challenges of fashion and modesty. Tips and advice were shared in whispers, creating a silent community of support. This network was a form of resilience, a way to survive in a world designed without women's comfort in mind. Quiet ingenuity, not open protest, was their tool. The strength of these bonds made daily life possible.